Come down. Ooh, you make my high come down. Always tripping when you come around. Never have to cut you off like right now. You see, I don't have to drive me. You can say that for your mama. Maybe you should smoke something. Try the marijuana. I was never you good. The vibe was straight. Showed you a couple of things and they feelings change. I treated you right. Everything was a gift from a time to your bag and the color on your lip. Yeah, you plenty of friends.
Welcome to the Seahawks Man-to-Man podcast, powered by The Athletic. Shout out to the company. My name is Michael Sean Dugar. I'm here with my co-host, Christopher Kidd. Make sure you follow us both up on the tweet machine. You guys know where to follow me. I'm verified, blue check, all that good stuff. Chris, talk to the people.
What is up, everybody? It's your boy, Christopher Kidd. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at CKIDD206 and that's CKid206.
All right, we have a special guest joining us on this week's episode of the Seahawks Man-to-Man podcast. We're not going to preview the Steelers game coming up in week 6. We're going to go a different route because the Seahawks are so bad. I don't know if we want to hear that much about the other team. We have the homie Sam Gold on the line. Sam, what is up? Good to see you.
Good to see you guys too. I'm glad to be back on the show.
Yes.
Oh, man, no, we love it. Love your insights. We said it last time you were on the show. It's nice to have someone who's willing to take the hours and hours and hours it takes to watch film and understand football. It's very hard. And not only do you understand it, you can explain it to us Neanderthals when it comes to football knowledge. So let's dive right in, Sam. You ready?
Let's do it.
All right. So I mentioned this to you before we press the record button that Jamal Adams has become like public enemy number one in the Seahawks world. He has taken the place of a Jermaine Kearse, a Jermaine Ifedi, a CJ Procise even.
Just a Seahawk no one likes.
Yeah, honestly, he has overtaken Trey Flowers as like the most polarizing figure on the Seahawks, which is really hard to do because before Trey got cut on Wednesday, he was a lot. So by the time this podcast comes out, you will have done your film study and it'll be out on your YouTube channel. I want everyone to go check that out. Sam looking at Jamal Adams' play. But for those people who are here right now, what are you seeing from Jamal Adams on the Seahawks defense in 2021?
So that's a good question overall, and that's kind of what I'm trying to figure out in my video in terms of what exactly is going on and what's different from, let's say, this year to last year, and then say last year or the year before that to his final year with the Jets, right? And so that's kind of the theme of the video that will be coming out, I guess, today for the viewers of this channel, but as we're recording it the night before, all right, whatever. Time tripping, we're going Westworld over here. The main takeaway I think I had throughout this is that I think he's being unfairly criticized for how much people are tearing him apart. I think he's being unfairly criticized for how much Pro Football Focus doesn't like him. And I think in general, I think he's playing better than that. Now, my big however.
Okay, I knew it was coming. I knew there was a but.
He's still not playing great. He's only playing, in my opinion, okay. And that's kind of how the debate begins, is that is someone that just plays okay, that you traded 2 first-rounders, a third, your boy Bradley McDougald, and you get Jamal Adams for all that. He's not been playing up to that value, and he's not been playing up to the $17.5 million he got this offseason. And so that's kind of the debate, is that in any given year on this defense, I would say he's an average-ish player this year. Like he's probably right in the middle of the pack. And that's not what you're paying for, though. Yeah. And so that's what keeps coming back to me, is that, all right, so we can start in the basics. Most of the time in run defense, he has the right fit in terms of where he's supposed to be. He throws his body in there. He's trying to make a play. He's trying to drive at the ball carrier. He's always willing to make a tackle. And those things have always been true of Jamal Adams. This year, he's been using his shoulder a lot more to try to make hits, which means that he's missed a few. And remember that Vikings one on the sideline where the running back just spun out, and I think it was Madison, and that should never happen. He dives at ankles a lot. Even though he's done that in the past, he's kind of missed a little bit this year. The other thing that I've kind of noticed is that when he takes on blocks in run defense, he doesn't use his hands. And that's the one thing that kind of blows me away, is that when let's say a wide receiver is pulling to be the lead blocker across the formation,
like Cooper Kupp is a perfect example.
Yeah, in the Rams game, and you have, like, I think it was Cooper Kupp,
Yep,
or I think it was Cooper Kupp,
it
and
was.
Adams tries to level him with his shoulder, and then the
Cooper
running back
gets
kind
it.
of just runs right by.
Yep.
And it's like, if he gets his hands on him, and then he sheds the block by using a good hand placement, he might have made that tackle, or at least slowed him down. But instead, the running back's long gone, and he misses the tackle. And it's those type of plays that I just don't get it, because he has the fundamental technique, and he showed that. And so I'm just trying to figure out what the hell happened. Like, where is he, and where is he, like, mentally? And the Rams game is, so for example, Pro Football Focus gave him a 36 in that game.
Oh God.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I thought he was a 36. He was bad.
Oh,
No,
and-
he
and-
wasn't.
And the other games, like, for example, the Vikings game, Pro Football Focus gave him a 64. I disagree with that. I think he was probably in the 70s or 75 or something. I thought he was pretty solid. The Rams game was exceptionally bad. He just didn't look like his heart was in it. And that just kind of bothers me, more generally speaking. And I'm going to hopefully chalk that up just like he had a bad week or something like that. Maybe he got dumped, who knows? But the important thing is that he wasn't good in that game. And so the thing is that my main takeaway when I was going through his film this year, then looking at kind of his snap positions from this year to last year, is that his snaps and where he's lined up in the roles he's played is so drastically different than what it was last season. He was used completely differently last year than this year. For example, last year he was blitzed on 12% of the snaps. This year it's down to 5%. And so you don't get 9.5 sacks by blitzing 5% of the time. And that's the reason, is because last year they needed the pass rush help, and now they don't. So now they're dropping him into coverage. And so now everybody points to the coverage problems. And basically that comes down to, we're watching a TV copy of a game where you can't see the other plays where he plays well on, because no quarterback's going to throw in his direction when he's covering well. And you only see the bad plays, or the plays where he potentially has a chance to stop it. And the thing is that when you're playing zone coverage and you give a few yards of cushion, which he does, a receiver is going to catch that underneath. For example, Cooper Kupp caught a 5-yard hitch route. I think it was a 2nd and 4. Jamal Adams was the cover 3 weak hook curl zone, which basically means that if you look at the 4 zones on cover 3, he's a second from the left. He's on the left side, near the left sideline, not all the way, but the usual role that like a Cam Chancellor type role would play. He's playing that, which means that when he's in that role, he's covering the slot. And when a wide receiver on the outside runs to the sideline, it means he's got one-on-one man-to-man duties with that slot receiver. So Cooper Kupp runs this little 5-yard hitch route, grabs it, gets the first down like that. He's easy. And Jamal Adams gave him like 6 yards, 7 yards of cushion. Like, it made no sense relative to the down and distance. It's like he respected Cooper Kupp so much that he gave him too much cushion, and he allowed him to get a quick first down, and the Rams just kept trolling through that drive, and they kept going. And it's little things like that where he can get exposed, because I think he's one of those guys that he operates better when he's coming in at an angle, like when he's cutting a route or playing a crosser or something like that. He's amazing when he's asked to cut a crosser from that, like a too high position where he's so what happens is the Seahawks this year, they've been playing a lot more cover 2 or too high safety defense, where he splits half the field, and they almost always line up Jamal Adams on the closed side, which means near the sideline. Like, if you're going to line up on the hashes, you have the closed side and the open side, and basically the closed side means you have less space to the sideline, as opposed to the open side, which you need a larger range, which means you have someone like Quandre Diggs playing that side, for reference. So when Jamal Adams is in that closed side, what happens is that he's peeking to the inside, and he's covering that slot receiver on that side, and he's actually great in that role. And the thing is that he didn't do a lot of that last year, but the thing is that on the TV copy, you're not seeing that. You're not seeing any of the stuff he's doing back there from that too high spot, standing by himself, just chilling back there and waiting, because no one's throwing it to him.
Yeah.
And there were so many plays where he's sitting there and he's waiting, and he's looking to cut a crosser, and teams have started not throwing crossers in his direction because he's there. And so there is an effect that Jamal Adams has, that if you're a good cornerback, you shouldn't even be called your name throughout the entire game, because you shouldn't be thrown at. And there is a level of that I've seen on film that Jamal Adams is not getting respected for the things that we can't see in a normal game. All we see is the in the Vikings game, we saw a tight end running a drag route, and he picked up like 12 yards and a first down.
Mm-hmm.
We all see that, and we're like, oh, crap, he's a terrible player. But no, I mean, that was one play out of the 40 others that he actually played pretty well. And there are these times where he's been bad, like the Rams game. Again, he led a tight end to Tyler Higbee. He led a touchdown to Tyler Higbee, the tight end. And that was horrible. Like, let's be honest, that was bad. But overall, I don't think he's playing as poorly as what other people are making it out to be. But as of this moment, I think if you were to criticize him, say he's not worth the contract, then I'm 100% on your team. I agree with that.
So I want to. His contract does matter. I mean, because that's what value does. It factors into the equation. If let's say he was, I don't know, just on. Let's say they had drafted him or something like that. Just acquired him for whatever. He's the middle of the road on their salary cap. Like he's making $17 million a year. Let's say it was $7 million. Is Jamal Adams playing well? Like irregardless of the contract number, would you say he's playing well?
At $7 million, I think he's playing okay for the $7 million. I don't have any problems with what he's doing.
So that's interesting to hear that, because the when you said the unfair part, I think that's where on our last podcast I was like, because the catchphrase has become Jamal can't cover, and I think last podcast I said that's a little bit too definitive, specifically where I think that people don't define what coverage is or really understand how many people, when you said weak hook curl, were like, oh, I got that. Yeah. Until Sam explained it. I think there's a lot that needs to be explained on what the coverage goes into. But the thing that's interesting as well that you mentioned is that he's doing a lot more. And that could be interpreted two ways. It could be interpreted one way as, well, if you're going to pay him $70 million, you should do more than blitz him. Right?
It was almost to the point of Tyler Lockett when we were discussing should he be used at punt return. And I was saying, no, just keep him at receiver. He's a valuable asset. And Mike, you were like, no. If he's dope at punt return, you put that man on punt return, you put him on kick return, you use him because he is that good. So back to the point with Jamal Adams that you're getting to, continue.
But then there's a flip side of that. If you move him around at the expense of the thing he is best at, which is like you say, he's only blitzing, what you said, 5% of the time, 5% of the snaps.
Yeah, he's an amazing blitzer.
You're moving him away from the line of scrimmage and at the expense of the thing he is best at. So I'll present this question to you then, Sam. How should Pete Carroll proceed here from week 6 on? Should he blitz him more? Maybe use him in coverage as much as he's doing? How would you change the usage, if at all, going forward?
Yeah, man. That's it's a good question. I haven't really thought about it from that perspective. And I do, and at least from the blitzing perspective, my entire head was on the coverage standpoint when I was going through the video. But from a blitzing perspective, I can make that argument that he should be blitzed more then. If that is what he's really good at, being near the line of scrimmage, and that there's nothing wrong with being a box safety and playing a lot more of that role. I think theoretically you can do a lot more of it. The question is, even though he's had his mistakes in coverage, is the rest of the coverage unit way worse off without him back there helping out? And so the thing is that they've been playing a lot more cover 2 man and cover 2 zone. And as I said before, that's 2 deep half safeties splitting the field, where the first one, cover 2 man, is man coverage. And that was that big Deshaun Jackson play that we all remember. And then in the Rams game, and then in the 49ers game, the George Kittle hit that was perfectly timed in the end zone where we broke it up, that was cover 2 zone. And so the question I have is that if you take him into more near the line of scrimmage, that 10 or, that goes up to, instead of 5%, it's now 10%. What are you going to play coverage wise on the back end? Are you going to play cover 1 man and kind of just risk and YOLO it with your other quarterback?
Well, that's kind of,
go ahead. The thing is that Jamal Adams has been on the side of Sidney Jones a lot of the time. And even though that's gone horribly for everyone, it's still probably better.
It could go a lot worse. Yeah,
it could go a lot worse. And that's the game you play, right? Is it where is the team better off? And honestly, I have no idea. I'd probably say give him coverage then.
Well, that's probably how Pete Carroll would present the question back to us, because we just asked him generally, "Hey Pete, how's Jamal playing?" And it's like, well, that's open ended. Like I asked you, you talked for 10 minutes. That's that's open ended. You got to be more specifically we want to go with. Like, because this has become a fascinating debate with
Yeah.
how Jamal's being used.
It really is. And my question to you is, we've all watched film. There have been times where I think teams have made sure when they see Jamal, they locate him. Whereas last year, I feel teams weren't as sure. I mean, he played for the Jets, right? The Jets stunk. Jamal might have been putting up numbers there, but they suck. So Jamal might have been playing out of his mind. His first year in Seattle, he played out of his mind. Teams are like, oh, this guy is actually really good. He's on a good team. And I think maybe a year with film study, coaches seeing, oh, Jamal's in the box. Hey, let's put a 350-pound lineman on him. And I think last year, if I'm not mistaken, he had 3 sacks, which were he did a spin move on an offensive tackle.
I think you're
He
right.
ran under, or he just ran right by. This
Yeah.
season, in the game that I've seen him go up against a lineman, he's over. He has been stuffed against tight ends. He's lost. There has been times, unfortunately, he faced Derrick Henry, and we all found out, oh, Derrick Henry is a pretty good pass protector.
Mhm.
With that into play, I'm not making an excuse for Jamal, but do you think that that year of extra film on Jamal with this Seahawks defense kind of put him on Front Street like, oh, we really need to pay attention to him because clearly the rest of the defensive line, while they've improved, they haven't shown it. And if they have, Jamal wouldn't be in this predicament, right? Jamal would still be on the line of scrimmage, probably making plays in the run game, but the sacks aren't there. Do you think that's a possibility that teams have realized, well, we're going to check down and make sure Jamal does not beat us. We don't want him making plays.
Yeah, it's a good point. It might even just be and I agree with you overall on the kind of the thought process because going with the film, you could argue that more teams are understanding how the Seahawks blitz with a full year of film on him, and maybe it's not necessarily the fact that they know his moves now or they know what he's trying to do. It's more like they know position wise or the angle or the gap that Jamal Adams is likely to hit depending on where he stands. And if you look at it from that lens, then you can argue, yeah, I mean that's probably leading to more less opportune moments this season than last season. But again, I mean, he's only rushed the passer 20 times, where last year at this point, it'd be at like 40 something or something like that.
He was getting after it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just fascinating. And I'm curious to see how they use him against the Steelers. And we'll get to that later. But back to Jamal Adams. What is one thing you want to see from him moving forward, whether it be him being blitzed more or in coverage, kind of what you hinted at. But if you had to, just like, I want to see this more, what would you say? Like, I got to see more of this from Jamal.
God, the question that's a good question. And for me, as I was kind of using my checklist of when they traded for him, I looked at how they used him with the Jets and kind of all of his different roles. And then I looked at him this year and what he's been doing with the Seahawks. And there's a ton of similarities, right? Like he's playing both teams he played cover 3 hook roll zones, and both teams he played the sideline zone, like the side, like when you compare it to he's on the boundary side, he's on the bottom sideline zone. He did that for both teams. He's playing robber for both teams. He's playing the deep half safety for both teams. He did that for the Jets. He did that for the Seahawks this year. I think the one difference that I've kind of mainly seen, the Seahawks don't play a ton of cover 6, and that's where you have quarters on one side. It's called quarter half, which is basically you have 2 safeties playing quarter coverage at the top, and then you have one safety playing half the field. So basically, it's a combo coverage of cover 2 and cover 4. So that's why it's called cover 6. You do 2 plus 4. The thing with the Jets is they ran that coverage a lot. They like that coverage, and they put Jamal Adams as that middle quarter, where basically it allowed him actually a better alleyway in order to cut passes and to cut wide receivers. And that actually got even closer than what I described before with cover 2, where he's further outside and somewhere near the hashes or outside of that. Whereas as a quarter safety, he'd be closer, he'd be inside the hash. And so the interesting thing there is that if he's in that position on cover 6, he would have a better opportunity to make bigger hits, better opportunity to make plays on the ball. And in position wise, he would actually be in a better place overall for especially, if teams run like a 3-by-1 set, for example, cover 6 is great against that. So you could use that. So that's something I would be interested to see if the Seahawks will run more of that in the future. My big, however, is you still have to get rid of the miscommunications, and that's something I just can't trust the rest of this defense, and I have no idea what's going to solve that. I just don't know.
That was my next question. Do the Seahawks have the personnel to even? I mean, I clearly have the personnel, but are they going to be able to gel in that cover 6? Because now the corners are going to be in a different position. They're already not playing a lot of cover 3, something that Pete, that's his bread and butter, and they're not getting that done. And now you want to put in cover 6, which should allow Jamal to be free and do what he's really good at. But now you're relying on Sidney Jones. Well, they just released Trey Flowers, and you had DJ Reed. There's a lot of question marks. So that would definitely be interesting. Pete should just call you up and say, hey, man, come down here. Let's talk football. How can I maximize this defense to get back where we were last season?
God, I'd be put in my place so fast. I'm afraid of that phone call, man.
So let's talk about the reason why I think the Jamal Adams discussion is both fascinating and frustrating is because I feel like if you start with the list of problems the Seahawks defense is having, Jamal is not high on the list for me. He's just kind of not. I just feel like you watch them, and Sam, you've watched them this year, and I watched every game in person. I very rarely come away from the game, other than perhaps the Rams, where he was responsible directly for a touchdown, thinking, man, 33 really blew that. Like, I just haven't done that a lot of games. And I feel like there's other things on the list there that they're struggling at. So, Sam, when you look at why this team is performing poorly for the second straight year, at least to start a season, what are you seeing and why the Seahawks are struggling defensively?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with your takeaway. I don't think, even though Jamal Adams isn't being the lights out player, in that if he was a lights out player, the defense would be better, right? Theoretically, he would elevate everyone. That's not the biggest issue to me. I would say the biggest issue is obviously the cornerbacks outside of DJ Reed. I mean, there's not a single cornerback on this team that I'm looking at for a long-term contract, that I'm looking at for a long-term in the zip code. Like, I don't, there's a reason why Trey Flowers was cut, and I feel bad saying that, but there's a reason.
It's business move, man.
Yeah, it's business move. Yeah, you should see some of the busts I saw. I'm sorry, Trey, if you're hearing this. I can't, like, in Sidney Jones, I would argue been playing even worse. And it's like, I feel bad saying that, but that's objectively the issue here right now. Ryan Neal, like, what's up with him? Like, why isn't he playing more snaps is my question.
That's a great question.
Because Pete I don't know what Pete's thinking. I think the problem
I know what he's thinking.
What's he thinking? Because
go ahead.
He played well in 20-something snaps with the 49ers. Like, what is he?
And then didn't see the field against the Rams.
So he has to. So he's not going to play nickel, right? So basically, either Ugo or Marquise is going to be on the field in their nickel package. It won't be Ryan for whatever reason. Probably just 'cause he doesn't practice at nickel. So whatever. Let's accept that one as fact, right? So his option there is to play dime, but you're only going to do dime in an obvious passing situation. Right? You're not going to do dime on 1st and 10. Your other option, though, if you were to all right, our two linebackers on any given early down is Jamal Adams and Bobby, right? And then we're going to play Ryan at safety next to Quandre. Well, who came off the field there in this scenario? The answer is your first round pick from a year ago. So I think that's you got to put Ryan on the field. You got to take someone off, and if you take someone off, you're basically asking either Ryan or Jamal to just now be a weak side linebacker and handle all those run fits. And you're asking two guys that are a little light in the butt to play those run fits. Although Jamal and Jordan are probably not too far apart in weight, but you guys get my point. Yeah. If I was to ask Pete that, like, we go to the bar, get him drunk. Hey Pete, why don't you play Ryan more? Like, oh yeah, round on me. I can't take Jordan Brooks off the field, and because otherwise you wouldn't even play Jordan. Like, if you think about it, to play Ryan on early downs, which is what I asked Pete. I said, could you play Ryan on early downs? He was like, I mean, I could, but in his head you could see he was saying, what do you want me to do about our first round pick from a year ago?
Yeah,
and never play him.
And you need the bigger body on, or theoretically you need the bigger body on first downs too, if it's more of a run situation, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, imagine some pulling guards coming in and Ryan Neal coming off,
and they can't
pull action,
and DBs can't cut block linemen anymore, so he has to go head up.
Yeah, that would be the natural issue there. So I mean, but I'm with you, Sam, because that's got to stand out, right? You watch the tape, like, hey, whoever's 26, if you don't know his name, like, hey, 26 is making plays.
Keep him on the field.
Yeah. And the thing is that, like, this is one of those years that, like, last year this wasn't the case, but this year the defensive line and like the edge rushers are actually solid. Like, it's not even like it's not even like oh, they're okay right now. Like they're actually making some plays. Like Al Woods, for example, Poona Ford. Like they're actually making good plays, and Darrell Taylor's crushing it too.
Mhm.
Like it's we're actually seeing some pressure from them. Yeah, and maybe that's as simple as why, well, like Jamal Adams, you need him in coverage duties, even though he's slightly worse, and so you have to pull him back and,
So
push him back there because you can get pressure elsewhere, and you need him to fix something, even though he's not as good at coverage.
this is the interesting thing too, that like now that I've had some more games to think about, and I'm sure Sam the film bears this out. So after the Vikings game, story time with Mike, here we go. Trey Flowers, he had that basically explosive press conference with us. It was only like me, Greg Bell, Bob Condotta, and like Brady Henderson. Very small group of people he spoke to after the Vikings game. The quotes got out there. One of the things that I don't think many of us wrote was that Trey specifically said one thing that really was going wrong. He said, I don't know. I need to figure out how to tackle those digs and those in routes. He said, either I got to drive on them or something. It's very rare that someone goes into schematic details that way. And I ran that quote, but it wasn't something that got blown up. The Sherman quote did more than anything. He said, I got to tackle these dig routes or these in routes or something. Either somebody's going to fix it or I'll fix it. Like he's ID'd a specific thing that was going wrong that he either didn't trust the scheme on or didn't understand the scheme on. And so he gets benched after that, right? And then Sidney Jones, like you said, Sam, Sidney came in and wasn't exactly lighting it up. But one thing that I noticed specifically on the blown coverage to Debo Samuel, what type of route does Sidney chase? That leaves Debo open. Yeah. It was a dig route. He chased the same route that Trey's like, maybe I should drive on that. And what did it do? It led to a touchdown.
And they won't blame Jamal.
Right. And then, independent of the Jamal part. Okay, so then week 5. What do the Rams kill the Seahawks on? A bunch of dig routes with Robert Woods.
Crossers and digs. And that's all it was.
It was like a bunch of, it was like a dagger concept.
Yeah. So what they did, they sent Cooper underneath, and they're like, well, we know what's going to happen here. He's just going to take it. Oh, here comes Robert Woods, wide open. And they ran it the whole entire game. Right. The homie Ted Wynn. He showcased it on Twitter.
And he had an article shout out to Ted.
Yes.
Ted Wynn on it. So it feels like, and I don't even know if I have a question for Sam here, but like when you kind of hinted at like Sidney came in and replaced Trey and even been much better, it does feel like we owe kind of Trey an apology, even though he wasn't like lighting it up. The thing that he said was a problem, they still haven't fixed, even by eliminating him. Like they still can't come.
The hilarious part is that when I was thinking about one of the big plays that Trey Flowers let, it was a dig route. I was like, I was just thinking about it. It was against the Vikings, and it was like a trips bunch on the left,
I believe.
Yeah, and he was supposed to, it was like what I thought was probably some form of, I don't know if he was in man coverage or if it was
It was weird though. I know that.
It was like a cover 3 like zone dog type play where he takes the outside release and then he's supposed to, maybe it was just banjo, I'm not really sure. But you have Jamal Adams carrying that seam, the seam across, and then you have a wide open dig, and that was what I was thinking about.
And you're like, hey, Trey.
I was like, what are you doing, man? Like, that's you.
It comes to a point where I was telling Mike, I said, when you're in your zone and guys run to your zone, you stay with them. You don't just leave them, especially if you look around and you see the plays unfolding. Everyone else is doing the same thing. You just take that guy. It's kind of like you manned up on him. You just eliminate that. Trey didn't realize that. Trey was like, well, everyone's doing that, but my guy runs across me. I should have help somewhere. Oh, I don't have help? I don't think he realized, and that goes back to communication, execution. They called a play. He probably wasn't 100% sure on that play. It worked out in their favor. Everybody had their parts covered. Quandra's on the middle, on the left side. I think it's on Robert Woods. Or not Robert Woods. We're talking about the Vikings game. So you have Adam Thielen, and then you have Justin Jefferson, who comes up, runs across, dig route, in over the middle. And you're wondering, okay, if you pause that, if you freeze frame it, you see it looks like it's man. And to your point, it might have been cover 3, and they just kind of zoned up and basically took that man, except for Trey. That was a problem more than once. It wasn't just, and that Mike, you hinted at that in the post game talking to him. Someone's going to fix it or I'll fix it. And ultimately, I knew what was going to happen. I'm like, well, the Seahawks are definitely going to fix it. They're not going to keep putting you out there if you don't know what's going on. And then to your point, well, they put Sidney Jones out there and it's still an issue.
Yeah.
Now I'm wondering, well, what else can they do?
And then Sidney Jones, they're having issues with him too, where it's passing off cover 3 routes. And
that's what it is. Thank you. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah. And these weren't even dig routes. They were I think it was against the Rams, and I would need to relook at. I think it was against the Rams, and it was You have your slot tight end that is running basically a fade. And then underneath that, a little bit further outside, you have like a little whip route. So basically, he goes outside, then he comes back inside, and Sidney Jones is sitting there confused. He doesn't know if he should carry the fade. Like he starts stepping back, and he sees Jamal Adams like perfectly on his hip. Like, oh god, there's someone there. And then he looks over, and the dude catches the ball. And I think it was Robert Woods, and he gets the first down.
Yeah, I know exactly what player you're talking about. Yeah,
that's you.
That's where the things get really, really tricky with these guys. I'm glad Sam's seeing some of the same stuff because I watch film and then I'm like, okay, am I seeing the right thing? But I thought that was really interesting with Trey. It's like the thing that he said, and it wasn't just Sydney, by the way. Too, I mean, I'm sure Sam saw this too. Like they're running that stuff on the DJ Reed and Ugo side. There's one where Robert Woods catches a 20-yard dig, and the first thing DJ does is tackle him and then get up and yells at Ugo. Yeah, right. Like it's not. It's not just.
It's clearly a team
everybody.
issue.
Everybody is having these same issues. So if they're like Pete's always optimistic, right? He's always thinking we're going to turn this thing around. If there was a reason that's going to turn around like it did last year, Sam, is there anything that you've seen like, well, if blank gets better, I think the defense has a shot at turning this around.
Man, I'm pessimistic, so I'm probably not. I don't think there's if Jamal Adams turns into an elite player randomly, like out of nowhere from back where he was, if we see the same thing from Quandre Diggs, if both of them turn into like these star safeties that I think they're plenty capable of being like, and they just perform at that level. I think that'll have the best net impact on the team because those two will help make up for a lot of the other issues, especially when you can do something as simple as cover 2 man, where you can just play the bracket over top, hope for the best for the underneath players, and they can make it up. And maybe that's what they need. And beyond that, I'm at a loss because there's way too many mess ups, man. There's way too much. Maybe Darryl Terrell needs 8 sacks a game. I don't know. Like there's way too much problems. And it was interesting. I had this. I was on a podcast for the Washington football team, and they're literally having the same problem where their coverages get blown left and right, but their defensive line is solid. And the host asked me, he was like, how much blame does Jack Del Rio have, which is the defensive coordinator? So like in this case, it'd be Ken Norton for us. And I was like, shoot, man, I think everyone's at fault. Like literally everyone. I don't know.
Mike brought up a fascinating point, I think maybe last week or 2 weeks ago. And he was talking about the Ravens and what their defense does. They just blitz the hell out of you. Like, we're not going to be able to sit in coverage and guard you. So screw it. Damn all that. We're sending everybody. We're sending 7 every time. We're just going to pray and hope that you don't get it off. And if you do, our DBs might be in position to make a play. Would you go as far as saying, you know what, to hell with it? Mike has a pretty good point. I think Bobby, I think the D-line, I think Jordan Brooks, I think they can get to the quarterback. Would you be okay? Would you be willing to say, you know what, let's just try that against Ben Roethlisberger and just blitz the hell out of him and see if that maybe changes the dynamic of this defense and what we're seeing?
Yeah, that's it's a fair argument because right now, and I'm looking it up. So you saw me typing, that's what I was doing. The Seahawks have blitzed 23% of their snaps this year. For example, Tampa Bay, Carolina, those are the blitzers, 40% and 35% respectively. Baltimore's at 33, so that like they're up there for sure. So the question is, I guess, if they blitz significantly more and they just say YOLO and just blitz 5-6 guys and just go man to man and hope for the best. Man, at this point it can't hurt. Like it's you're gonna have your busted coverages anyways. You might as well make them worth it, right? You might as well hit somebody.
Your hope is that maybe the quarterback flinches and throws a bad pass, and DJ Reed's there. Oh, Sidney Jones with the pick. Like those are the things you are.
The thing
hoping.
is, like, the thing with Big Ben is he's good at the underneath stuff though. Like that's what I worry about is he's good with the hot routes. And this is the game where Juju somehow has 1,000 yards. Like it's one of those games where he's going to catch those underneath passes if is he still alive? Like he's still there.
He's on IR.
He's done.
Oh, he's on IR. Oh, he won't have 1,000 yards then.
He will not. Maybe Deontay Jackson. I don't know.
Then Deontay Johnson, and he'll have a lot. But it's going to be one of those games where whoever's having the bad season, he's going to come on hot, and this is it.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll figure it out, right?
Well, I mean, I think, well, we'll move on to the offense now, but I do think the discussion we just had is very important when you're trying to, like, it's not, defense is very hard to just, like, all right, it's like, it's this guy, or it's
Yeah.
even this coach. Like, we just
There's
talked
no
for
easy
30,
fix with defense.
yeah, we just talked for 30 minutes. It was like, none of us are concluding, get rid of Ken Norton. I mean,
Oh no,
I don't know. I mean, you can do it, but how much does that solve?
What does it do? What does it change?
Yeah, like, I don't,
It literally it starts with Pete and goes to Ken, and then players need to execute. If players don't execute,
Yeah.
well, sure, you can say fire him, but okay, what are you doing now? You fired the guy that calls the plays, and the guy's still not executing. Unless you're telling me, oh, go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, I was gonna say I agree with you. Like I would like to give the benefit of the doubt to the coaches. And the thing is that Pete has had successful defense in the past, but also his players have been a lot better in the past. And so maybe it's a simple, his coaching style just lends itself to, slightly elevating bad players and making elite players great. And I don't know.
We talked about that maybe 2 years ago. We said maybe it's time for Pete to realize that this is not the Legion of Boom, and you have to change it. You have to change it and make certain adjustments to the players you have now. You don't have Richard Sherman. You don't have Cam Chancellor. You don't have another corner Jeremy Lane, Byron Maxwell, all these guys that, okay, they fit well within that scheme. It's a new era. It's a new age. Teams are passing more. The run game is still relevant, but you go up against the Chiefs, they're going to throw for 5,000 yards against you. You have to be able to adjust with the times. And I don't know if Pete is willing to make that change yet. We are seeing more cover two, but that's just because they can't cover nobody.
Yeah.
That's what cover two is. We can't really cover, so we're just going to basically shut down everything and try to make you throw to the numbers. We don't want you throwing over the middle, because you're going to cook us. So we're going to drop our middle linebacker deep and hope that it works out. That's why they're playing cover two. If they were playing cover three, this would be, quote unquote, a pretty good defense, and they would be doing, Bobby said in this presser earlier on Wednesday, we would just play cover three because we're better than you. That's what it comes down to. Their defense doesn't strike that into a Rams offense, a Vikings offense. They're like, do you see what you, okay, yeah, we're definitely throwing the ball today.
Well, the other thing is too, there's no perfect coverage for guys who can't cover. You know what I mean? Or for a coverage team that needs to cover for 3 seconds on average, or 3.3 or whatever, which is an eternity.
For a deep, oh my goodness.
Yeah, so like that's why I don't default to like get rid of Ken. I do get the arguments, like he's been the coordinator and the defense has never been good. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, you are the defensive coordinator. Yeah. But like there is only
coordinate the defense,
right?
Man.
Yeah, I mean, and also the defense has a bunch of busts. So Sam's seeing like guys yelling at each other, guys just wide the hell open. Eventually that falls on someone. Someone gets the axe at that point. But
someone's getting fired. I just don't know who it's going to be right now.
Right, because it's hard to ID who is it. Is it a position coach? Is it Ken? Is it like what is it? Is it a Pete thing? It's very difficult. And like I said, there's no coverage for like give me 7 dudes who can't cover. I'm not going to magically just have some thing that makes them all Darrell Revis.
When you get burned on man coverage, you can't blame a coach. But at the same point, it's like if there's a miscommunication at the same time, then yeah, sure, why not?
And then even then the miscommunication is like, okay, did we just tell him to play and he just blanked? Who knows? Like there's been times where it's like, all right, you're the only player X doing the wrong thing. Is that a coaching thing, or were you just not listening? Like
you weren't listening. I'm sorry.
Were you on your phone in the team meeting and you didn't see that when we do this is what we call you texting. Next thing you know, you on the field and your guy scores a touchdown. Is it that, or is it the coach? Who knows? That's why I don't necessarily default to the coach. And this is probably one of those situations where, and I promise we'll get to the offense. It's one of those situations where not having an open locker room to talk to guys and even get some coaches really hurts us, because we do a lot of guessing and we have to fill in our own blanks. And at the end of the day, Jamal Adams gets blamed for everything.
Unfortunately.
Bring it
let's
back to Jamal.
We'll get to the offense, because that I think is doing well. And I know we talked to you earlier in the summer about, or maybe the spring, we talked about what Shane is going to bring to this offense. Unfortunately, D. Eskridge hasn't been the pivotal guy we thought he would be because he got banged up. But with what you've seen through 5 games, unfortunately Russ goes down, how solid has Shane been able to run this offense? He's been doing a lot of movement at the O-line. You see some jet sweeps. I mean, hell, Penny Hart got a jet sweep for like 19 yards. Was it against the Rams, I think? Needless to say, I think the offense is doing well. I want to hear your thoughts, Sam, on how you've seen the offense compared to what we saw last season.
Yeah, very interesting question, because for me, I feel like from a play calling perspective, the run game, for instance, it's pretty much exactly what I said in my video, where I see a lot of wide zone, which is most people call it outside zone, but it's technically wide zone. You have mid zone, which ends up being a lot of the touchdown runs, and that ends up being, if you remember, we ran the ball twice to try to pick up the first down. It was like 3rd and 2, then 4th and 2. I think we ran mid zone twice on the same, like the back to back, basically, which is basically it's similar to like an inside zone, except for it's more horizontal. And the footwork's more horizontal, and you're trying to push out your edge defenders so you can make your cut back inside, as opposed to driving them downfield. So I've seen a lot of that from the running game, and I think without having Chris Carson recently, I think, and I don't think Alex Collins has been bad or anything like that. It's just it's not going to be obviously as dynamic or as good as what it could be with having like a Chris Carson. The other thing that has confused me is the level of when they use a lot of play action and jet sweeps, and they use that either the orbit motion or just like the straight jet motions across. They haven't done that. They kind of rotate in terms of the games they've been using that on. Like the first game against the Colts, it was everywhere. Yeah. Then in the game in play action was everywhere. And then against the Titans the next week, it was like a standard shotgun Brian Schottenheimer offense. And I was kind of confused on like why the sudden shift. When I think that could have worked still. I think from a play calling perspective, I think generally Waldron is okay. I think he's generally fine, but the question that comes down to is what I've seen as a recent trend is using tempo more or less to set up 3rd and shorts and 4th and shorts and stuff like that. The Chargers love it. If you ever watch the Chargers, what they'll do is they'll run a play on second down, get them to like a 3rd and 1, and then they're going to do a quick lineup, and they're going to do a quick little out route to Keenan Allen or something like that, where he picks up the first down. And it's like, oh, that was the easiest first down in my entire life. And they keep using tempo and that variety in order to catch a defense kind of in a precarious position. And we've seen that a little bit. We've seen that more this season than we have under Brian Schottenheimer, and that's a plus to me. It's a huge plus to me, and I like it when Russell Wilson gets to the line and he's got 30 seconds left on the clock, and he's sitting there, he's making his audibles, and then he finally makes his decision, and he snaps it with about 6 seconds left. I absolutely love that because it gives them time to adjust the play, and I feel like every single one of those times they've done that, it's been a successful play. And to me, it comes down to kind of that level of coordination between like a Shane Waldron and Russell Wilson, and how they're kind of relaying the plays back and forth. If it's as simple as Shane Waldron's giving him all the commands and pulling like the Jared Goff, where he's kind of whispering in his ear like what you should be looking for. I don't know if you guys have any insight on that. I'm not sure if I've heard anything yet.
Shane's done a good job of making sure we know nothing.
Yeah,
but he's also, I mean, to be fair,
like, I haven't heard anything about Shane yet.
I think, we took, I think some of us, I did not, but some of us took Brian Schottenheimer for granted. On Thursday afternoons, Brian Schottenheimer was so good at explaining what he was thinking, why our players playing well, why he called this, the history behind how he came to this philosophy. He was so good. And maybe Shane will get there. This is Shane's first time, but Shane is he's very matter of fact. It's like I think someone asked, "Hey Shane, do you talk to Russ all the way up until the thing?" Because Russ's mic or thing shuts off, and
it shuts off. Is it 15 seconds?
It's either 12 or 15 seconds left.
Yeah. It
shuts off. And I think someone asked, "Do you talk to him right up until then, or how does that go?" And he's like, "It depends," which is probably the truth. Yeah. But it doesn't. What am I supposed to do with that, Shane?
It doesn't answer the question. Yeah, it doesn't give you enough fodder to talk about it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I don't. We're trying. We are trying on Thursday. We'll try. This podcast comes out on Thursday. I will make sure on Thursday, even though it won't come in this show, I will ask Shane whatever we need to figure out about his communication with Russ, because it does matter. Because Russ has proven to be able to call his own damn plays.
Do whatever he wants. To be honest,
he's called him in Carolina and Miami. I think he called him at home once before, and he's led touchdown drives.
Like his mic went out, and he just went for it. That was amazing. I just let him call the plays sometimes.
Yeah, his mic went out in Miami, and he ran like a 2-minute drill for a touchdown before the end of the first half, and it was just like, Why does the offense play well when Russ is going
Yeah.
I thought
plays?
the headset goes out every time, you know?
Yeah, maybe Russ
Yeah.
just switches his helmet on the sideline because I mean Shane's on the ground, so maybe that won't work. Shotty was up in the box, so after Russ's mic went off one time, Shotty was like, "I'm gonna go get a cookie." Like I can't talk to Russ, so
Yeah.
he'll figure it out. And then they scored a touchdown. It's like, oh, maybe they don't need me. But
Yeah,
yeah,
maybe it's you give him the keys and he figures it out from there.
but yeah, we're struggling there to figure out the intricacies of how their communication
Yeah.
works. What I'm kind of interested in and see if you've noticed this as well. Has Shane done a good job on some of the things that people wanted to see from Russ? Was like the intermediate stuff, run some more quick game, attack the middle of the field more. Are you seeing any of that from what Shane's tried to bring to this offense through 5 games?
Yeah. So that level, I'll be completely blunt here and say I haven't studied it that much. I think from the general standpoint is that they have mixed in a fair bit of quick game in terms of the stick concept, for example. I know we kind of mentioned that in passing, but where you have an inside receiver running a stick route, which is like I think it's 5 or 6 yards, and they kind of push out, and then outside of them, it's usually a quick out route. They've run that play a bunch. I think they don't run as much pure interior slants as what he used in the past. Like when I look back at the Jared Goff days and like back when he was with Sean McVay, I saw more slants and more of those interior type throws. And I don't see that as frequently. And maybe I just need to go back and rewatch them to see if I can find them. But for example, like DK Metcalf and his touchdown against Jalen Ramsey, and that was a skinny post, and that was a nice interior breaking route. But it's not the quick, 2-step go post that or 2-step go slant. That was it a 5-6 yard stem and then he breaks. I think the one takeaway is that I think Russell Wilson overall is playing very well. I think there are I think it's because the rest of the offense and offensive line is actually helping him a lot more than in previous years. And I think that's something that for example, watch Russ anytime his first or second read is not immediately open and he starts trying to figure out what to do in the pocket. He looks skittish. Sometimes he looks very, very skittish, and it terrifies me. And it's one of those things that he isn't used to having this good of an offensive line or an offensive line that can actually protect for once. And that's the amazing thing is that even when he stopped, kind of looked a little bit skittish, he'd then be like, "Oh, I still have another second to throw it," and then he'll make a good throw.
Yeah.
And I've seen that at least once or twice where I was like, if you just continue with your progressions, you'd be fine on some of these plays. And I think that pocket awareness element is one thing that I'll never use the phrase someone's like broken or something like that.
Right.
I hate when people said like with Sam Darnold, like, is he gonna be broken when, he saw the ghost or whatever and all those plays. Like I'll never say that about Russell Wilson because he's obviously better than that. It's one of those things where I think it does have an effect on you and how you view your line of scrimmage and what you're used to. And I don't think it's a matter of he's a 1-2 run type quarterback or anything like that. I just think he's not used to having better protection than he has in the past. And that's with, Brandon Shell is actually playing extremely well.
Yeah.
That's Dwayne Brown he hasn't been as amazing this year as he was in the past, but he's still a solid player. Gabe Jackson's been pretty good too, for the most part. Even his tight ends haven't been terrible at pass blocking. Even his running backs haven't been terrible at pass blocking. It's honestly, you only see really the center getting crushed every single game. And that's Kyle Fuller. And, and I wish we saw more Ethan Posick before he went down, and he went down early. I think it's kind of, to me, I think that's kind of the most surprising part is that, you think of it like when you're playing Madden, right? Oh, I finally have a good offensive line. I can now sit here and play the progressions. I can do all these things, but you don't realize the effects of years of years of torture you have by getting, chased down by Aaron Donald all the time.
Yeah, I mean, if Aaron Donald's hitting you constantly, that's going to do something to you. I don't care who you are.
It's freak you out. I mean, it's only reasonable. It hurts.
A lot. I do practice.
Summing it
Doesn't he
up.
practice with knives?
Yeah, and so
They're not
my
real
other
knives,
question
but yeah.
was, Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf in terms of kind of they both seem very boom or bust in their week by week production. And that was something that it's actually, I think this scheme and this offense is actually working pretty well overall for them in that standpoint, in terms of the crosses, the digs, in terms of the deep overs, because that fits both of their skill sets actually very, very well, especially Tyler Lockett. And I think overall, I like what I've seen. I think we're going to need to see just more consistency, and it just sucks that Russell Wilson got injured, because like I want to see more of what he can do as he progresses in the offense instead. And what's fascinating is that you look at Geno Smith when he came in, he actually played pretty well. And what's interesting about that is that I don't think he had the like the preconceived notion of like his offensive line being so terrible for so long. And he just seemed to sit there, trust it, step forward and make a throw. And that's all he was really asked to do. And he did it. And granted, the team did drop more coverage deep, and they weren't nearly as aggressive when he was on the field versus Russell Wilson, because the Rams pretty much had the game done by then. But it was one of those things that the reason why he was playing better was because he just kind of played the position as if he had no memory for it, as opposed to what we've seen kind of in the beginning stages from Russell Wilson, even though objectively Russell Wilson is he's still playing really well overall.
Yeah, Geno, when I went back and watched him, I think I watched him like Monday. I had to take the weekend off because my brain melted from too much football. But like you watch the Will Dissly throw he had, not the first one where he scrambles, the one where he just sits there, lets Will uncover in the middle of the field. Like that is one of the, like you said, he's playing like he's never been hit by Aaron Donald, because he sat there for what felt like an eternity.
It was all 4 seconds, because you have Tyler Lockett who broke open. Tyler Lockett was wide open in the beginning, and that's where the ball was supposed to go. And then Will Dissly spins and gets open.
Yeah, and then that, like, Geno sits there and waits for that to happen, and like you said, maybe you should have just got rid of it initially. But yeah, to behave that way does seem like it's like you need like a fresh brain. Like, I trust these guys, I trust my tackles, I trust my center, and all that. So with that said, here's my theory, Sam. Let me know if I'm crazy here. I feel like because how do I want to word this? I feel like Sean McVay has done a really good job, and you could make this case with Kyle Shanahan too. They've done a really good job with quarterbacks who need that hand holding a little bit, maybe a little bit more than like the elite guys. You know, they're not like need training wheels fully, but like Jared Goff needed to be, hey man, when you hike it, throw it here. Right? Don't think about nothing else. Throw it here. And even Kirk was a little better than that, but Kirk to some extent. You could even go that far with Matt Ryan, his Super Bowl year. Like they made it really easy on guys. So they made it QB friendly offenses. My theory is it works so well with Geno initially because he is a guy. He's not a Russ or Mahomes, Rodgers. He is one of those guys who needs a QB friendly offense. So I'm trying to paint some optimism here. My theory is because that's the tree that Shane comes from. He's actually in a good position to help Geno, and Geno is actually in a good position to succeed because the offense is kind of built around. It's ideally built for like you don't have to be Superman, just do what the play says, and you'll perform. And I know you said you're a pessimist. Can I sell some optimism that way? At least thinking about it that way.
I think if I'm pessimistic on the defense, I'm more optimistic on the offense. I'll say that.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go, and Chris. We're almost an hour in, but we got some optimism. There we go.
Yeah. And I sound like the negative person. No. I think I think I can see that. I think I can honestly see that because like if you look back through Geno's plays, it wasn't bad. Like it wasn't I didn't look at that and be like, "Oh, damn it, we have Geno." Like it was actually pretty solid football, and maybe it's him sitting on the bench for so long and he's ready for his opportunity, and he's in that QB friendly offense, which I agree with, and it's and maybe Shane's just gonna make the game plan easy for him, and then it's just up to him to execute. And Geno, I think he has the ability to execute, and maybe he just has needed that throughout his entire career instead of saying, all right, break down this entire field and all these progressions and do this all by yourself. Whereas maybe he can just have someone whisper in his ear and just say, all right, you're looking for this first, then this first, and then this.
Would you consider making it easier by running the ball more and quicker throws? Because what we saw against the Rams, He was throwing it everywhere. Hell, the interception on what should have been a catch, but Tyler Lockett got tripped up. That was also a pretty good throw. Mike and I were talking off wax. Tyler probably makes that catch there if he doesn't trip. With that being said, how would you like to see the offensive game plan against the Steelers on the Sunday Night Football matchup?
Yeah, I'm hoping we see some play action. I'm hoping we see a decent amount of play action because I don't think we saw a lot of that when Geno is in because they're already down. I think they're running a lot more shotgun. So I'm hoping we see a lot more base level play action like that. I think what's going to happen is we're going to see more running plays, and I don't know if that's because he's trying to make it easy or if it's Pete Carroll, Pete whispering in his ear, got to make it easy for him, and maybe that's where that decision will kind of go to.
Yeah.
I like from a play calling standpoint, what you can do is you can do a lot of play action where you see half the field and so it's a flood concept, for example. It's a 3-level flood where you have a deep route going like a go route. You then have a deep over going to your other side. And then you have a little flat route where you start top, you then go to the middle, then you go to the bottom. And that kind of turns into your read structure where you still have the dangerous effects of seeing Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf going deep down the field. Well, you still have your outlet and you can still have a structure. And those plays are common. Every single playbook has it. So you can do stuff like that where it takes the full read progression away from it. I know a lot of teams like the McVays of the world and, the Kyle Shanahan's and the Jay Gruden's and stuff like that. What they'll do is they'll do sides, right? They'll say one side is my cover 1 side and my other side is my cover 2 side. So then you'll pick your side before the snap and then you'll execute that. But anytime you do that and it allows an opportunity for a defense to disguise a coverage, and that'd be my worry is that if I'm going to play Geno, I'm just going to disguise some coverages and then game over, I win. So I feel like we might see more beast level play action type plays and those type of flood concepts and those type of quick short game plays just because it might help Geno, and I can see that.
Yeah, I mean, even then, those those half reads and those, reading from high to low. I mean, that's a lot of what they do at Russ already.
Yeah.
I mean, Russ's favorite stuff is that deep play action where he's got, he's
DK running down,
reading half the field, like you said, DK running and Tyler running. Like it's a QB friendly offense with Russ. I mean, Russ, like you said, Russ's numbers were good before he ran into Aaron Donald's hand and his finger started doing
I mean, that was
was gross. But I'm a little optimistic about what I mean. I don't think I'm going as crazy as some people in my Twitter timeline telling me that just because Geno's taller, throws over the middle of the field, he's better than Russ.
Wow, that's a hot take.
No, there's some
that's a
bad take.
Go read, and that's not hyperbole. Go to my mentions starting Thursday to Thursday. Anything I tweet about Geno, they're like, "Oh wow, he can see middle of the field. He's tall. Oh, amazing!" And it's just like, guys, if Geno was secretly better than Russ, I think
he'd be starting.
We'd have figured that out by now, guys. Like it's not this big old secret here. I do think being taller and seeing over the middle of the field is one advantage, but
relevant.
Russ is still future Hall of Famer.
It helps, but it's not the only thing.
Right. Yes. There's ways around that. But
maybe it helps a little bit to see over the middle of the field to get some of those plays. But I mean, we don't need those. We don't need all those plays. Right?
Exactly.
Right. I mean, and then that takes. I mean, Russ is just so. Oh my God, it's so frustrating. I just had to ignore those.
I don't blame you.
It's frustrating, Sam. We had you on this week, A, because we love your insight, and B, because we have a guest preview the week. We would have had Mark Cabali, who covers the Steelers, and we would have ended the show with Mark making a pick. You are not Mark, but we would still would like you to make a pick for us. We don't have to do over under like we usually do, but we would
make a pick though.
Yeah, we would like to hear who do you think is going to win the game Sunday night. The Seahawks are 2.5 point underdogs. I want to say.
Let's just double check.
Yeah,
it's a 5 point now.
No way in hell.
Steelers are -5.
Makes sense. No Russ. I don't blame them.
What do you mean makes sense? The Seahawks opened as favorites.
Well, they had Russ. They opened it early. It's open.
Yeah, I guess that's probably fair.
They had Russ when it was opened up. I remember that vividly.
Russ is worth 6.5 points.
Are you kidding me? Absolutely.
Yeah. I'd say he's worth 6.
Yeah. Russ is.
I mean, I've never had to think about it because they.
Well, I don't blame you, but yeah, Russ. When Russ was playing, it was at Seahawks -2.5. After the injury, and I don't know, maybe Tuesday, maybe Monday, whatever it may have been, I don't know how early it was, but I do remember it changed drastically, and it was like Steelers favorited at -4, and now it's at 4.5, 5, like Sam just said.
Wow, that's a swing.
Yeah.
On
Goodbye, Russ.
Wow, that is incredible.
Hello, Geno. Yeah, we'll take the Steelers.
Wow, Vegas has no respect for Geno Smith.
Should they?
That is-
He hasn't played in like 4 years.
I
It's
don't know.
in the Steelers too, which is the it's in their stadium, and
Yeah, but they're not very good.
Their defense is
Their
okay.
Their old
They
line is
have-
not good.
The old line's actually okay. I was all over PFF.
I don't know.
I'm not saying it's accurate, but not to get too off topic here.
Yeah, I
Sorry,
mean,
Sam. We have a
no-
prediction. My apologies.
Yeah, okay. We don't have to get into the
I
PFF
was just
thing. I have
looking
my
up,
own beef with that.
Football
but yeah.
Outsiders to figure out, like their rankings and everything. And
I like Football Outsiders a lot more.
Got it.
Yeah.
man, they're bad. Looking at them, they're awful.
Who? Football Outsiders or the
Steelers.
Steelers?
No,
Steelers.
like the rating for the Steelers. Like
Okay.
like saying
Yes.
the Steelers are bad.
I
I didn't know they were
Steelers
that
are
bad. I haven't been paying attention to the Steelers at all.
It's good to have different perspectives. PFF
Yeah.
has it one way, and then Football Outsiders like, what are you talking about, PFF? You're wrong. So
Yeah, it's all right. So let's see. Okay, my final prediction. All right, let's do this. I think I'm gonna go. 27, 21, and I'm unfortunately gonna take the Steelers on this one.
Gonna take
I
the Steelers to
understand.
cover.
I don't understand. I mean, I understand it. I'd be shocked if Geno put up 27 by himself. I'd be like, damn, that's a lot of points.
Oh, okay. I don't have to make a pick. It's our show. We don't have to make a pick.
No,
Would you like
that's
to make a
fine.
pick, Chris?
No, I learned my lesson.
You don't want to make a pick?
No, I'm good.
You sure?
Positive.
Final answer?
Sam is golden with it. See what I did there? We're
Okay.
good.
Okay, that's true. I'm not gonna make one. I'll make one at the end of the week. I think
You do it every week.
I didn't make one actually for the Thursday night game
You didn't?
because the week was so short. I usually do my preview that runs.
I had to
on
go back
Friday.
and reread the last sentence.
No, I didn't. I have it written. I will have what it would have been, but I
Oh.
never actually followed it because of the scheduling. But I like the pick, Sam. I can respect that.
2 and 4.
It says, before we sign off, I do feel bad for Geno, man. They don't even want to advertise him as the starter in this. You see the Sunday Night Football NBC graphics like
God.
DK Metcalf
Versus Ben.
and Big Ben. I'm like, damn.
Can't put the quarterback up there.
Yeah, I felt bad. They used to do that with some Rams games that run Sunday Night Football. They
Oh,
would-
no
they
Jared
would put
Goff.
like Aaron Donald or Todd Gurley versus whoever. They wouldn't even put Goff. I feel.
Well, he's in Detroit now. We get it.
I feel bad though, man. Like I can't even get the preview. I ain't even stunk yet. You can't just put me on the TV just to sell some tickets. That's messed up. But man, Sam, thank you so much for joining us, man. Like I said, by the time this is out, your YouTube channel has the Jamal episode. So go ahead and plug the hell out of that. Plug the channel, Jamal video, plug whatever you want to plug right now. This is your time.
Yeah, thank you. So YouTube, Samuel Gold NFL, Twitter, Samuel R Gold. That's all I'm gonna plug. But yeah, that's
I mean, that's
all you
enough
gotta do
right
to
there.
Find me. I'm sure you can find me somehow. They're all.
Man, you guys, I can't tell you guys enough. Sam knows his stuff.
Yes.
You can just tell by the terminology he's using, explaining it to us, and makes it real simple. He does the work. He's not just tweeting that a guy stinks or whatever, or even just using a grade to analyze a position group or whatever. He goes and looks at the numbers and the film and then makes analysis. That is how you really do this part of the job. So Sam, and it's not even Sam's full-time. Sam does, he's doing his own thing. But we appreciate you, man. We got to have you on again. We will have you on again. We love the insights. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Seahawks Man to Man Podcast, again powered by The Athletic. I'm Mike. This is Chris. That's Sam. We will catch you guys after the Sunday night game. We're out.